family, the government, the church. These are independent institutions. It's just like there's no way the government can regulate where you're going to live and how you're going to do business with your children or with your wife. But there are certain laws you're supposed to abide with as a citizen that are already in place.
Okay, but
for the church, remember they were trying to address the rogue, what we describe even in our context, the rogue preachers.
Right.
But we say there are enough laws
that regulate
that can be able to address that. Remember, we are registered under the Society Act, and there are certain things we do annually. So if somebody is not living up to that expectation of the act they are registered with, the Attorney General's office or the state law office can still withdraw registration, so that someone does not, so because you see, we are regulated. Like for us in Deliverance Church, where I serve, we have a constitution, and we also fall under the what we call Evangelical Alliance. So I can't just do what I want to do in my Langata church, just do some strange things.
Whatever you want to do.
No, they'll come for me.
But one might argue and say that so far there has been those regulations, but they don't seem to have worked. So maybe it is time for the government to just step up so that those who have been taken advantage of, I mean, we're talking about some serious issues here like radicalization.
Yeah.
Because we're not just talking about the Christian faith, but generally religious organizations and societies.
Yeah.
Those are serious issues that may have developed over time. I mean, 10 years ago, radicalization was not a big issue like it is now.
Yeah, but you see, radicalization does, most of the time, of course, you are saying correctly that within the church context is really not radicalization, because you have not had any church that has been involved with radicalizing youth to do certain things. Of course, that is the other faiths, especially, you know what has been happening in Mombasa and elsewhere. But the key thing is this: respect the reality that these three institutions have their own independence. So when you especially when it comes to issues of worship, worship is an issue that brings the way you interact with God, and that can never be regulated.
But the regulations were not to do with worship; they were more to do with how some of those organizations are run. For example, you have right now you can have somebody claim to be a preacher or a pastor or a bishop, but there's nothing really that can tell the congregants that yes, indeed he is, apart from the fact that maybe your faith gives you guidelines.
In my view, the government can do very well to affirm the current established umbrella bodies and empower them and require there is no preacher who will be independent, because the challenge we are having right now is from independent preachers who do not account to anybody. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
There are preachers who have, I don't know how they got registration, they go and do their own things, they are not accountable to anybody. You see, that is not my situation. And that's why now we keep asking questions. And part of the regulation, one of the things we are very worried about is the requirement that I was going to be required to present myself to the CID people to get a certificate of good conduct. No, just get out of here. What are you talking about? Certificate of good conduct? Am I supposed to be a pastor of people when I do not know how to behave?
But
if that be the case, then I say there are certain basic regulations. And I can give you an example. And since it's in the public domain, I could still refer to it. There is a situation that touched on Kanyari's mother, where he went to court and was charged and jailed. You know that? Was there any new regulation? Was this regulation necessary? The same law that was used then to charge this particular lady, there's another lady who in the name of church was involved with trafficking of children. That story is also within everybody's knowledge. That person was charged and faced the law without need of regulation. So the person who really need to do his work is the registrar of society. They cannot be able to say, because in terms of false prophets, these false prophets will always be there. even if regulations are put, we cannot guarantee they are still not going to have a way of trying to go through. So the key thing is this: let them not trouble people who are doing their work independently, and they understand they are living in Kenya, and you have to live under certain laws and order. And if anybody violates, the other thing that is very important, I think is good to bring this out. When you want to make a big deal of M-Pesa to churches, you see, I have 2 TV programs, but I removed the requirement for M-Pesa because I know it is a beast.
You see, Reverend, let me stop you there, because we don't want to downplay the fact that there are people who have been conned. And if you're conned of 5 shillings, it is not any less than somebody who's been conned 100,000, because that might be your last dime.
But listen,
and with that regulation coming in, it is regulating that poor person who possibly is looking at this as an answer, where maybe lies have been used to.
I understand that, but I want you to also know the government can never regulate the way Kenyans will spend their money. If they don't send that M-Pesa to that pastor, and I've told you, I've qualified to say, I removed the appeal from my programs. And actually one of the TV stations wanted to put there so that they can be put in there. I said, please, that is time I've bought, so please remove it. Because I didn't want that misunderstanding. But the key thing is this: if they don't do that, they'll still do it elsewhere. Some of them will take them to witches, others to.
So are you saying it is okay for them? Are you saying that it is okay for them to be conned in court?
No. It's not good for them to be conned.
Because they still spend it anyway.
The key thing is it's not good that they be conned. But if you're that ignorant, because I keep saying there are enough churches in this city where the word of God is preached like it is. And somebody chooses to go because they are manipulated over either a get rich mentality, do this, give this, and you're going to have this. You see, that's not what we teach. But if somebody is that naive to presuppose there is a simple way, it's like if you give this, you're going to have this. You know, that is a belief. That's something.
But Reverend,
that's the advantage those in quote preachers do.
I understand fully that you're as a person is not doing that. But understand it also from the other end. There are those who are doing that, and they're taking advantage of maybe desperate Kenyans. For instance, when it comes to healing, there may be one who may not be knowledgeable enough to know that buying oil will not heal you. But that does not stop a supposed or somebody who has put himself as a preacher to stand up and say, look, I have oil that can heal you. Now the issue here is the person who is buying this believing that it can.
And that's what I'm saying.
Don't they need protection?
There are two ways to stop this. First is to require that all churches come under some kind of umbrella covering, so that those umbrella bodies take the responsibility to ensure that anybody that is within their register, whether they are independent, because like I say, it is the registrar who gives those people registration, and they are independent, that they cannot do what they want to do. Because if they try to do it, that's why I'm saying what should be encouraged is something called self-regulation. And you know, that is something that most people really keep insisting about, self-regulation without direct interference. Because let me tell you, you know where we are in Angata. We started in a small tent, and we have come to where we are today. We never tried to manipulate anybody, but we have prayed and believed and trusted that God can still provide.
Reverend,
and remember, we are not funny. There are churches like in Germany, I think it's Germany and some of the places where churches
Reverend, let me stop you, because again, it's not just about Deliverance Church Langata or Deliverance Church as a whole. We're talking about the whole shebang of religious societies and organizations. There are some that are not genuine. We cannot run away from that. Is fact. True. Now, for those that are not genuine, and for those that are taking advantage of the poor mwananchi who probably looks at them as a solution, don't they need protection from those?
No, the key thing is this: you cannot successfully protect Kenyans from being exploited by people. Because listen, some of them will come with other ways. It may not even be church. It's unfortunate that there are preachers who take advantage of the ignorant. But what I'm saying is that, one, we must agree, and you must agree with me in the sense that how Kenyans will spend their money still is your responsibility.
That's true. And
if somebody does not want to commit money where it is right to commit, where there can be accountability, it is very unfortunate. So I say one of the way of protect is demand. No church will operate without a certain covering for administration. And then, do you know that also there's no church that should operate without a constitution, and that constitution is registered in the state law office. So that is, I'm saying.
So in short, what you're saying is that there are already regulations that would protect.
They will protect. And the person who is actually failing, and I can say this without fear of contradiction, it is the state office failure to implement what is already there. And I remember how much we were looking forward when the DPP gave instruction for this particular preacher who brought all this situation to be investigated for what was already reported. But from that, we never had anything. If that person, I can tell you this for a fact, if that gentleman was working with Deliverance Church, they would not be pastoring today. Because the administration of Deliverance Church would have gone for them and threw them out. And I know that would go for KAG, it would go for CITAM, it would go for NCCK covered churches, Catholics. There is no way you can get away with such a thing. The government does not even have to pursue you. You will not be allowed to stand there and preach.
All right, Reverend, what is it now that it has been thrown back to the churches and societies and religious leaders to negotiate with the Office of the Attorney General? What would you expect out of that negotiation?
My expectation is that we are going to there will be some forums that would debate. And my thinking, because again, I've been in some of the forums of the Evangelical Alliance, what we want to appeal to the government is to recognize that these umbrella bodies can be entrusted with overseeing and holding all churches in their register accountable to basic requirement of what the church is. And anybody going out of the way, then they can be struck and reported back to the Attorney General's office, that from now on this person does not fall within our jurisdiction, let the law take its course. I think that's the only, I mean, there should be some regulation, but we must all understand, still, when people go spend their money with doing things that are very outrageous, the government can't do anything about it. It's not that
and how somebody spends their money is up to them.
Yeah, it's up to them. And the key thing is, let us not condemn people because they have decided to support the church. Because if the church is not supported by those well-wishers, how do you think we can be able to do the things we do? Like, how do we pay for the TV programs that we teach? How do we build our buildings? How do we have healthy facilities for people? Again, Kenyans will suffer. So because of those few people who have decided to do things that are completely unorthodox and things that are unacceptable, the church, the government cannot interfere with what mature democracies have come to discover cannot be admissible. And you can even within your own time, you can check about the First Amendment in the U.S. Constitution, where they say that there should not even be any state religion, and no taxpayers' money should fund any church. And to qualify, the money that comes to us is money that people have already.
It's already been taxed.
It's already been taxed. That's why they don't tax the church. But for me, what I receive, I pay tax. Because now I receive it as a salary.
Correct.
So let me say, I have no doubt there is nothing new that needs to happen in regulation. If the state law office, the registrar, does do what they are supposed to do,
then there is no need for regulation.
Again, even our